This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into episode 7, or if you want to look at it, part 2 to the Draft Room's NFL full NFL draft grades. I am joined by my beautiful co-host, the one and only JD. JD, how we doing today?
I'm doing great, man.
This wasn't expected. We expected to get all the teams in an hour and a half, but I will say this, and I said this at the end of episode 6, which you guys should be able to see right now. It's on the YouTube channel as this is live. After we were talking about the first 3 teams, I'm just listening to you talk, and I just look at the clock that's down here, and I go, yeah, we ain't getting through all 30, 31, or 32 teams in an hour and a half. So if you want to check out our NFC grades, those are already on the YouTube channel. You can check them out after this. This is solely the AFC. Before we get started, I do want to throw out there, if you want to support us, help make these videos possible, check out our Patreon down below in the description, or become a channel member today. We got a basic and a plus membership package for either, or if you want to support us, and if you want to join the Discord, it's completely free. You can join that down below. Talk with us and all the real MVPs that are in the MVP Discord. That link down below in the description. Got some great conversations going each and every day. We've got people defending their team's draft, even though some people think that they did a bad job. I'm not calling out Kai specifically. Kai, that is not a specific burn at you. Everyone is defending their draft, because the first thing I didn't know if I wanted to start with this or end with this, JD, but I do want to start with this. I saw today Pat McAfee on his show talked about how apparently every team felt like they won the draft. Mm-hmm. And the thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think the reason why fan bases think their team won the draft, no matter who they are, and why people are so defensive and we had a good draft, is because of how mid overall this draft was?
Yeah, I think you just nailed it there. I don't, like I said yesterday as well, I don't think any team had a bad draft. There were some better than others, but I think because the lack of elite prospects that there were in this year's class, it kind of made everyone else's draft class look not as bad, because a lot of the prospects are similarly graded.
Yeah, and that's just something that I saw today. I'm like, I wonder if it's because I would put this draft ahead of the 2013 draft, but not by much. It's in front of it. It's a better draft class, but it's still not a great draft class. You and I have already spewed over next year's, and yeah. I can't wait for next year's draft. It's going to be so amazing.
I will say quickly,
go ahead.
After everything is all said and done, I actually think this draft is better than I originally anticipated it being. Still not nearly as good as last year or the year before's, but I mean, yeah, I'm more excited for next year's, but I'm glad that the draft wasn't a total dud.
So I have my phone out real quickly because I want to check something / quiz you, JD. True or false, has Caleb Williams' odds for the number 1 pick changed? Are they still minus 550, or have they changed in a week? Well, not even a week, 5 days.
I think they've changed.
It is the exact same. They have not. Oh, we haven't gone that crazy yet.
I thought they would have gone better odds.
No, he is by far the number 1 pick right now. But we are not talking about 2024. We are looking at the AFC teams, giving our grades for every AFC team. How we're going to do it is just like we did for the NFC. We're going to start with the East, then go to the North, then the South, then the West, and the order of teams is basically going to be the standings. We're going to start with the best team from the division, go down to the worst team in the division, and probably and I look at it, I almost wanted to say this was the closest stacked division, but I guess the North was like this too, as their bottom teams were only 7 and 10. let's start with the East. We got the Buffalo Bills on the clock first, or what we're looking at first. They got in the first Dalton Kincaid. They got in the second Osiris Torrance. Then in the third, Dorian Williams, linebacker. In the fifth, Justin Shorter, wide receiver. In the seventh, they got Nick Broker, guard out of Mississippi, and then Alex Austin, cornerback out of Oregon State. JD, I'll go first for these ones. When it comes to the Bills, I like the two players they got in the first and the second. Dalton Kincaid to me, first round grade. However, tight end wasn't the huge need. Slot wide receiver was. But I guess you could say, looking at the board, like Zay Flowers was gone at that point. JSN was gone at that point. And like Addison and Johnson were gone as well. I think they could still have gone Hyatt with that first round pick and didn't need to trade up. But they traded up for Dalton Kincaid. I like Osiris Torrance in the second. He's a guy that I had a first round grade on. Yes, he will need some improvement at that guard position, but I believe that they got a first round talent in the second round. However, the rest of their draft, I'm not really high on any of the guys. And I feel like, yes, you attacked your top two needs early. Well, top two needs, air quotes, because I'm giving it a C. I debated C minus. I'm going to settle on C because Dalton Kincaid and Osiris Torrance are great prospects, but I feel like wide receiver was a bigger need. And Justin Shorter out of Florida, one of the biggest things when people were talking about ARJD is they were like, don't hold this against him, because what did the Florida wide receivers love to do?
They had a lot of drops.
They had a lot of drops. And I'm sorry, I don't like that you're at like Quentin Johnson had the drop skis as well, but his talent is like up here. Justin Shorter's is down here, and that's not a shot at Justin Shorter. That's just saying Quentin Johnson is that much better of a player talent-wise. Yeah, they got two good players to start, but I feel like wide receiver was a bigger need. Could have gone with maybe a Jalen Hyatt in the first instead. Still get that guy, hit a need that you have. I'm going with a C for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a C as well. I think they, like you said, Dalton Kincaid, that pick actually grew on me over the last few days, because at first I was like, okay, you just got another tight end, and when you have a pretty solid one in Dawson Knox.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, they kind of need a slot receiver, and Dalton Kincaid has the best hands at tight end.
So what, are they going to play him at the slot?
If they don't want to run two tight end sets, then yeah, he has the ability to play the slot. He has a pretty decent route tree for a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't hate that. I actually like the pick. They jumped in front of the Cowboys to get their guy. So and I had a top 15 grade on him. So I think that getting him at 28. Sorry, what they get him at? 25?
They got him at 25, I think.
26. Okay. Yeah, I got him at 26. So yeah, so get him at 26 when he's a top 15 guy for me is good value. I've gushed about Osiris Torrance. I think he was the best guard in this class, and I think arguably the best lineman in this class. So getting him in the second round is fantastic value.
Did you say best lineman? Do you mean like interior lineman, or are you counting tackles into that too?
I'm counting tackles.
So you think you had him as the number one above Paris Johnson?
I said I think you can make an argument.
Okay. I was asking. I was like, whoa, JD, did you just drop a hot take and expect me to just glance over it?
I think he's better than Paris Johnson.
Okay.
So I like him better. But yeah, I think he'll be a day one starter. I think he has Pro Bowl potential as a rookie.
He actually made me sit up in my chair. I was like sitting there like thinking like, all right. And then you said that and I was like, wait, come again for Big Fudge?
Yeah, no. Like I mean, that's a hot take. That's a hill I'm willing to die on.
Okay.
And then they did need linebacker help. So getting Dorian Williams in the third, I mean, I am fine with that. I like that. Now with Justin Shorter, now as a Gator fan, I obviously I know him well.
People then hear you say Gator fan and go, oh, that's why he's high on Torrance.
No, but
Because there's a bias there, isn't there?
go back and watch the tape.
Uh-huh. I'm
But
just messing with you, JD.
no, I know. But Justin Shorter, like his big issue is his injury.
Mhm.
So, but he's a big body receiver, and
Yeah.
honestly, like you mentioned the drops, he was one of the sure-handed receivers that Florida did have, which is why we had so many drop issues because he barely played this year.
Okay.
So he's going to be mainly, I think, just a red zone threat in the next level,
Mm-hmm.
which is great when Josh Allen is your quarterback. So I actually like that as an upside pick there. I mean, if he can stay healthy, I think it'll work out. And then yeah, they just rounded up with some more offensive line depth and cornerback depth. So I want to say Alex Austin is going to be mainly like a return guy,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, if that's what you're going for in the 7th round, then I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, the only thing I'm going to say about the return game is I don't know how much time Austin's going to be taking returns because the Bills did get Naheem Hines, who
Good point.
did that basically for the Indianapolis Colts this year.
Does he return both punts and
Mhm.
kicks?
Yeah, our lads
Okay.
has Hines as both the PR and the KR.
Okay, well,
Yeah, and
I mean,
and the other thing is, unless they're going to have maybe Hines and Austin on kick returns, because with Cook being now the main running back, him and Harris are the two main running backs, are they going to want Cook returning kicks if he's the RB1? Probably not.
Yeah.
You're not going to want that wear and tear on your RB1 getting kick returns.
Exactly.
The other team, or the next team, I should say, there's 4 of them in this division, did not have a first round pick, JD. This team, much like the 49ers, the Miami Dolphins, didn't have a pick in the first round, and they only made 4 picks all draft. They had 1 in the second, which was Cam Smith, cornerback from South Carolina. In the 3rd round, got Devin Achane out of Texas A&M, the running back. Elijah Higgins, wide receiver out of Stanford, in the 6th. And then in the 7th, Ryan Haynes, offensive tackle out of Michigan. JD, I look at this, and this is a team that did not have a lot of picks, obviously. But if you look at the needs that this team has, running back was on there, and they get to me, one of the phenomenal day 2, day 3 running backs in this draft. Cornerback was a need. They get Cam Smith in the 2nd round. I like that pick. And then wide receiver, which was arguably not one of their biggest needs at all, because, they've got there with Smith and Tyreek Hill set. But I did like Higgins. I look at this draft for the Dolphins, and I'm going to give it a B. And the reason why is they only had these picks to work with. Like they knew, okay, we're going to have limited picks because of trades they made. And I feel like they just sat and hit. And like for some of the teams out there that we've been saying like, oh man, they reached on this guy. I think that someone who is looking at it and going like, oh, well, my GM, I believe in my GM. And that's fine if you believe in your GM. But I think you should look at the Dolphins draft and say, hey, this is probably the copy of stick and pick. Stick here, pick here. Stick here, pick here. I'll be honest, Devin Achane, I love him. And I'm going to say this now. I've seen this already for some people, and I'm going to piggyback on it. Fantasy owners, put Devin as write his name down, sit there, and try to target him as a late running back pick, because one of the things I love about him is he's one injury away, not to him. He's one injury from the 2 guys in front of him from getting major playing time. I actually like this draft from the Dolphins, even though it's 4 picks. I'm giving it a B.
Yeah, I like what they did as well. Getting Cam Smith in the 2nd, I think, is going to really help their cornerback room. I think he's a potential starter for them. And I've seen some people still have him as a 1st round talent. So, I mean, getting him in the 2nd is good value. Now, I was telling Sap this about Devin A. I think it's A Chain.
A-Chain.
Yeah,
I'm going to learn
it's
how
like
to say it as
yeah,
people tell me how.
yeah. Now, I he's just a really small running back,
Mm-hmm.
but he has he's very fast. He's good. He's a good runner. He has that breakaway speed. He makes guys miss, and he's good with his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use him all around the field, and it'll work. I think he's going to be like more of a gadget player in the NFL, like which getting him in the third. I mean, for a team that already has some serious weapons, I mean that's only a good thing because it just adds to it.
Yeah, but
Getting a lot,
I'm going to cut you off, even though, too, like Mostert and Wilson both have had injury troubles.
yeah,
One injury away from getting more snaps and being a main part of this offense.
yeah, exactly. So it's just all around a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elijah Higgins, getting just adding to the receiver room. Again, like you just said, the Dolphins always seem to have injuries to their offense.
Mm-hmm.
So just getting depth there, I like it. Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
injuries
so
and not just their quarterbacks. Sorry,
yeah,
Tua.
exactly. And then getting an offensive tackle in the 7th round, just again more depth, and you
Mm-hmm.
hope you can groom him into being a solid backup to a potential starter.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I give them a C+.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, like some of these, it's like I feel like this year, especially B and C, usually it's like there's a gap between them, but I feel like this year, because of how the draft is, there's a closer margin between a B grade and a C grade
Yeah,
in my mind, where it's like the finest of lines makes it a B and a C. Like, for example, the draft that like the next draft we're going to look at, which is the Patriots, because I'm torn on this one a little bit, because you look at their draft, they got a plethora of picks. They got Christian Gonzalez in the first. In the second, they get Keon White, edge rusher out of Georgia Tech. The third, they get Marte Mapu, linebacker. In the fourth, they get Jake Andrews at center, Chad Raylan, the kicker, City So, the guard. In the fifth, they get Antonio Mafi, guard. Then in the sixth, they get another 4 players. Kayshawn Booty, wide receiver, Bryce Baringer, punter, Demario Douglas, wide receiver, Amir Speed, defensive back, and then in the 7th they get Isaiah Bolden, cornerback. If you look at this draft, JD, there's only 3 players that sticks out and I go, ooh, I love that pick. Christian Gonzalez was a steal in the first. They got my best pick of the first round. Then, even though, I mean, let me look at the needs just to double check. Even though debatably it was 4th on their list, they go with their 4th need. They get BPA, though, in Keon White. Well, maybe not BPA. Jalen Hyatt was there. But Keon White, solid pick, even though it was a 4th need. And then I look at Kayshawn Booty. One of the things I look at him is, if Bill, like, because one of the things people are going to say is off the field issues with Booty at LSU. But if Bill Belichick is the guy to draft him and say, hey, I could help him in the Patriot system, in my system, that ain't going to be a problem. I look at that and I go, hey, Mac Jones, you got yourself a weapon, and probably a guy who's going to be looking to prove himself a little bit, because before those off the field issues, before the non-football related things that came up, JD, Booty was a 1st round grade for many people. He was mocked in the 1st round with many people's mocks, and you go ahead and get him in the 6th. So like, I look at this and I go, Christian Gonzalez was the best pick of the 1st round. I really like the edge rusher pick, even though it was a 4th need. I'm going to lean more B- here, mainly because of those reasons, plus one I haven't said. They get a center, 2 guards, and yeah, so a center and 2 guards. Yeah, they didn't get one of the offensive tackles from the 1st round, but they've drafted guys to where it's like, hey, let's fill in that offensive line. We hit some big picks here and there. I think overall this is a pretty solid draft, and really this is a Patriot draft, because really with the Patriots, you shouldn't know their names because Bill Belichick doesn't want you to, because he's looking for guys that you don't know, and then they'll surprise you when they get to the NFL. So I'm going to go B- for the Patois.
Yeah, I really liked what they did. Getting Christian Gonzalez, who was my number one corner and top 10 pick, I loved it. I think he has potential to be. I think he has top 5 corner in the league potential. So I love that for them. Then Keon White, I thought he would sneak into the first round. I think he's all the upside in the world, and he has a high floor. So I really like that for the Patriots there. Now, something I want to mention too is getting the punter Bryce Baringer. I think he's honestly one of the best punters we've seen in a long time.
Okay.
Like, so I actually really like that pick in the 6th round, because I mean, I feel like the value of punter is starting to go up in the league. If you're noticing, more and more punters are getting drafted earlier and earlier, and same thing with kicker.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good deal to get him in the 6th round. And yeah, like you said, Kayshon Boutte, he did slide because of his off the field issues, but kind of like a lot of the prospects we've talked about, if you burn this year's tape, he might be wide receiver 1. This year though, when he did play, he wasn't as good of a receiver, and he was throwing temper tantrums on the field.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna say this though, and let me say this with a grain of salt. Who was his coach this year?
Chip Kelly.
No, not Chip Kelly. Close. He's also. I'm also blanking on his name too. Brian Kelly, not Chip Kelly. Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly. I look at that and I thought about this at nauseum. Where now let me double check, because sometimes I forget years. I believe this was Brian Kelly's first year
at LSU.
Yeah, this was his first year at LSU, 2022. I feel like that played into it a little bit. Like, because you're talking, before this year he had issues. Yet again, Bill Belichick's a guy I think is going to do his due diligence, especially on a pick like this. And I wouldn't be surprised if old Billy B was like, hey, you know what? This year was an outlier. I know how Brian Kelly can be. I know that you were a guy that was with LSU. You weren't a Brian Kelly guy. Maybe that's where most of the tension came from. You know what? That's fine. You're going to work out just fine. I'm going to say this, and this might be a hot take. He might be similar to the Tom Brady pick, meaning we might see, 6th round Kayshon Boutte, but he ends up being the Patriot number 1 wide receiver and a Patriot for years.
Yeah, I mean, based on previous talent, that wouldn't surprise me, right?
People are going to say, just because I said Tom Brady, Ricky's going to be the GOAT wide receiver. No, I don't mean it like that.
No, but like I said, I like their draft, so I'm going to give them a B+.
Okay, you're higher than I was. Like, the only reason why I went B- is technically, if you look at it, they didn't go heavy on needs, but like the players they got, you can't like I said, some of them I really like, and the needs that they did hit were great players. Last team for the AFC East, JD, the New York Jets, Jets. Aaron Rodgers is now a part of the Jets. I'm not sure if you know this, JD, as Aaron Rodgers was at the Ranger game this week. Packer fans are still a little upset that he's gone. The Jets had an interesting draft, in my opinion. First round, they go Will McDonald, edge rusher. In the second, they go Joe Tippmann, center out of Wisconsin. Then in the fourth, Carter Warren, offensive tackle, Pittsburgh. In the fifth, they go with Israel Abanikanda. I hope I said that right.
I'm pretty sure it's Abanikanda.
Abanikanda. Running back from Pittsburgh. Then they went in the sixth with Zaire Barnes, linebacker. Also going with Jarek Bernard, Converse, cornerback in the 6th round. And then they go with Zach Kuntz, the tight end, in the 7th. I look at this draft, JD, and I think the only pick that I look at and I go, might be a little bit of a reach is that first round pick. Like, that's the one that I look at and I go, okay, here's the deal with it. I'm going to talk it through, JD, is I expected, and I think everyone expected, this team to go with offensive tackle in the first round. But you look at how the first round went. Paris Johnson goes to the Cardinals. They weren't going to get that. Like, then the Bears go Darnell Wright. Then Peter Skoronsky to the Titans. Pittsburgh then moving up for Broderick Jones. Like, for me, the next tackle they would have taken was like Anton Harrison, which would have been a reach for them. Bigger reach at 15 to where... Now, tell me if I'm wrong here for thinking this. I would have rather them go with wide receiver here. I would have yes, edge is a need, and I'm not going to hold this against them draft-wise, even though I kind of am, I kind of not. Like, it's not going to be like a D because of this, but like I am holding it against them. Like, edge rusher to me was not the biggest need, and it wasn't even BPA here. And I look at it and I go, you could have tackled the edge rusher later in the draft. I look at it and I go, I would have went with JSN here. I would have doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. Hey, Aaron, all the weapons. You get all the weapons, everybody to throw to. I'm going to make it to where you're going to have a plethora of options. It's almost like, we want to make you happy. Here you go. Here's one. I just feel like JSN would have been a better pick. I like the Tippmann pick. Offensive lineman. Hey, Aaron, we're going to help protect you. I look at it and I go, that first round pick to me was really like, did we have to reach that far? But however, maybe they were looking for a trade down. They couldn't find one. I'm going to go C+. Not the worst draft, but I am a little salty about that first round.
Yeah, I didn't mind the Will McDonald pick.
Well, he's not even the best edge rusher on my board. So, like, that's another thing. Like, I know everyone's got their own board, and apparently, like, you're supposed to go off of other people's boards, but Will McDonald was not even next on my board edge rusher wise. So that plays into it too.
He wasn't next on mine either, but I still thought he was a first round pick.
Yeah, but at 15
I could see I would have been okay with him going anywhere from 20 or 20 to like 32. I think that was fine. So
this and the Lions, similar reach.
Yeah, I see
similar
that.
reach. To me, he was a fringe first round guy.
Yeah, like I said, I don't love the pick. I don't hate the pick. So, and then Joe Tippmann, the center. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure he can play the guard position as well, so he doesn't have to stick at center.
He's going to be in the inside, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I really like the Israel Abanikanda pick. I loved him coming out of Pitt.
Yeah.
I think he adds to that running back room that is already pretty solid.
And
then my favorite pick is the Zach Kuntz pick. If you were, I think I said it when we were reacting to the when we were in the draft and then the next show, but I really want the Bengals to draft him. And then he kept sliding and sliding, and we kept passing. And he's raw. Like, he needs to add to his route tree, but he has the best traits by any tight end in this class. So if you're looking just going off of traits, I think he has a really great future. The only thing is, he's in a deep tight end room. Like, I want to say they have already 5 tight ends on that roster. So it's, where does he fit in there? But with that being said, I'm gonna give them a C-.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think it was the best draft for the Jets. It could have been a little bit better, especially like the first round is going to have, and I will say this, a first round pick is going to have more weight than a 6th round pick. So like, you might nail that 7th round pick, but if you screwed up that first round pick, it's going to carry more weight because that's the first round pick has got to be the one that hits. That's the one that's usually going to start day one for you. JD, you mentioned a certain team, And it's that time. We're going on to the AFC North. And of course, who won the North last year was your Cincinnati Bengals. Here's what they got. In the first round, they took Myles Murphy, edge rusher. Second round, DJ Turner, cornerback. In the third round, Jordan Battle, safety. In the fourth round, Charlie Jones, wide receiver. In the fifth round, Chase Brown, running back. In the sixth, they get Andre Acivas, wide receiver. They also get Brad Robbins, the punter. And in the seventh, they get DJ Ivy, defensive back. JD, the floor is yours. This is your team. What do you think of your draft? How excited are you?
I mean,
that's a great start when you go.
Yeah, like I think we could have done more. I honestly think we could have done more. Now, before I joined the MVP team, I was banging on the wall throughout this past season with the Bengals.
Yeah,
you need another edge rusher. I don't care. Get an edge rusher. Now, as the draft process started ramping up, I didn't think there would really be an edge rusher worth taking. Then I want to say about a week before the draft came, I'm like, okay, I'd be okay with Myles Murphy. He didn't have, like, watching his tape this year wasn't good, but if you watch last year's tape, really good player. He has all the traits in the world to be a double-digit sack guy, and he has a high floor as well. So I wanted Michael Mayer in that first round. I really did. But I'm okay with Myles Murphy. I don't hate the pick, and he fits a need. Then where I'm starting to have a problem is when you go with DJ Turner. I like the player. It is a need. We needed cornerback depth, and after this year, Chidobe Awuzie is a free agent. So if everything goes right, he could be one of your starting corners. But I would have gone tight end. I would have been even okay reaching for one of the guys. Jordan Battle, I actually don't mind the pick. I've seen a lot of Bengals fans hate it, but because we already have like 4 safeties. But the issue is, like I was saying, when we talked about the Saints, you may have 3 safeties, but are they quality safeties? And I'm not really high on our free agents. Now, Charlie Jones was another pick I didn't love. I didn't think you needed a wide receiver here. I would have waited to get one. Again, I wanted tight end. I would have been okay taking Zach Kuntz in this 4th round here. And yeah, Chase Brown's my favorite pick. I absolutely loved it. We needed a running back to back up Joe Mixon, and Chase Brown is electric with the ball in his hands. I absolutely love that pick. I think we knocked that out of the park. I thought Chase Brown would have been gone by the 3rd round, so getting him the 5th is great. Then we got another wide receiver who, I mean, again, I want to say he was a top 5 athletic, had like a top 5 athletic profile this year for receivers. And then we got another need at punter. Brad Rubens actually had the longest hang time out of any college punter this year. So that's something that Darren Simmons, our special teams coordinator, really values. And then we just took a swing at a corner, DJ Ivy out of Miami. So I think we had a very average class. So for that, I'm gonna give us a C, like a C to C plus. Probably just stay with a C. So I think we didn't really reach on many guys, we didn't really reach on anybody, but I think we could have done more to get fill our actual need, because now with tight end, like I've been saying for now a week, we only have Irv Smith and Drew Sample on the roster, and you can't rely on Irv Smith to stay healthy, and Drew Sample just sucks.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's also another position that, yet again, I'll ask you because you're the Bengal representative between us. Is there also maybe another position that I'm looking here, and if I'm not mistaken, was a top need for you guys that you didn't get anybody from? You know, maybe somebody that plays a certain position, starts with a T, protects your quarterback.
Oh, tackle?
Yeah. This was a team that I thought at some point they would get a tackle, right?
Well, that all depended on if we traded Jonah Williams, which
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't look like we're gonna honor his trade request. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna make him play right tackle. And in
Okay.
that case, you have Jonah starting right tackle, Lael Collins backup, and then Jackson Carman third. So you don't really need one there.
But
If anything,
how long is Jonah Williams under contract for though?
this is his 5th-year option, so this is his
Okay.
last year. But then you have Jackson Carman for another 3 years, or no, another 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then you also have Lael. I think he's a free agent after this upcoming season.
Yeah. So you
So
guys have in the tackle room Jonah Williams, Hakeem.
Adeniji,
Yeah, both of those two guys are done
yeah.
after this year. Other than that, Orlando Brown, obviously 4 years left. Lyle Collins has this year and 2024 before he's up.
Yeah, so because I think honestly, another position that was more of need
Mm-hmm.
was three tech. So
Okay.
I would have actually really liked this going to Abaware
Mm-hmm.
in like the second or third round,
Yeah.
but that didn't happen. But we
Because,
still
like,
have depth there.
for me, I'm not a Bengal fan, but I'm not in love. Like, there's a part of me, and I will jokingly say this: Bengals get an A. You got Chase Brown. There you go. I'm joking, by the way. I love the Chase Brown pick, obviously. I love both. Like, for your sake, JD, when I saw that the Bengals needed safety and running back, I was like, oh, please let the Brown brothers.
That would have been so cool,
Like,
man.
I was like, it's weird that the two teams that I wanted them either to both get drafted to, the Eagles and like, because the Eagles needed both safety and running back. You guys needed both safety and running back. I'm like, dude, please let the Chase brothers get not the Chase brothers, the Brown brothers get drafted together. I want to see them play on the same team still, but no, they got shipped off. Thank goodness Sidney Brown is in Philly and not Pittsburgh. I would not want to see them go against each other 2 times a year, as I know you wouldn't want to see Sidney Brown twice a year. But like, I look at this draft and it's like, the Miles Murphy pick I'm not in love with, because personally on my board wasn't a first, like, was probably going to go in the first round, wasn't a first round grade. I think he's got development to go. He was high second to me. Like I said, I loved Nolan Smith more. If you're going to go edge, Nolan Smith would have been the pick here. But like, I look at that. Second off, DJ Turner, I wasn't absolutely high on either. And then, like, besides those two, I look and I go, to me personally, I know you said, oh, we're not going to trade Jonah Williams, but even if you're not, he is up at the end of the year. There were some good tackles you could have targeted in this draft. It was one of the deeper positions that we had talked about. Could have taken one of those to kind of keep the depth so that you're not forced to take one next year when Jonah Williams leaves, because if he wants to trade out, he ain't going to re-sign with you. Exactly. And then you didn't get a tight end. Tight end, I think, needed to happen at some point. Like, let's be honest. I would have probably, those first 2 picks, I would have done a little differently. I probably would have taken, let me pull this up here. I'll be honest, I probably would have taken Joey Porter Jr. with that first round pick. To me, that was BPA need. Like, it was one of your needs. It was BPA on my board, him and Nolan Smith. So like, Joey Porter Jr. could have been the guy, or Michael Mayer. Either of those probably would have been taken because they hit a need and they're a better player. And then, like, I don't know, in the second round pick, because you guys had 29, which was towards the end, you could have went with a Tyler Steen. You could have just went with Sidney Brown. And the battle pick you could have changed.
Yeah, the player
I know this is all hindsight too. Like, we didn't know how the draft was gonna play out.
A player, like, the only tackle I was really interested taking out of the first round was DeJuan Jones. I was really hoping we'd get him either in the second or third round, but we chose to go a different route.
And notice how I didn't bring up any tackles. First round pick, cornerback is probably what I would have went with, because JPJ, like, And ooh, think about that. Your daddy played for the Steelers, but guess what? You're playing for the Bengals. You get to play your dad's team twice a year. Yeah, I think about these things. I'm a fan. I think about storylines. But that would have been BPA hit a need. Second round, maybe double up on the defensive backs. Go Sidney Brown. I did bring up Tyler Steen, but really, Sidney Brown. Like then you could have gotten both Brown brothers together. I don't know. To me, I'm going to go D plus. Not in love with it. I think the Bengals could have done better. And the Miles Murphy pick, if he pans out, it's much like what we said for the Lions. If he pans out, it's a great pick. But he's going to need development, and you're a Super Bowl contending team. You need guys to come in, especially first rounders, come in and compete immediately. You don't have time for, hey, let's develop him.
Like we talked about though in this draft, this is the only thing I'm going to say to defend because I wouldn't if
I'm
I
gonna
wasn't
harp
a fan.
on it.
No, maybe if I wasn't a fan, I would be closer to that D grade as well.
Yeah.
Maybe, but the thing is, this great you're not going to get many top end starters in the first round this year. That's the thing.
But JD, the thing I'm hitting on is, and yet again, my personal board to your personal board to Mel Kiper's personal board. And I'm talking about myself. If let's say you're sitting there going, Ricky, I need an edge rusher there at what first round pick was that? Just so I get the number right. At 28. If you're sitting there going, I need one that can help me right away, I'm taking Nolan Smith before I even look to Miles Murphy's way.
And that's where we're different because I think
that's what I said. Your big board might be Mel Kiper's, Todd McShay's. They're all different.
I think Nolan Smith is way more raw and he's smaller. So that's kind of how I that. But yeah, exactly. Like you said, we that's the beauty thing about.
Well, no. That's the bad. I'm going to say this. That's the bad thing about a draft like this. Everyone thinks they're smarter than everyone else.
No, but
there's no consensus in a draft that's this mid.
Yeah, but it's cool to see all the different opinions because it's not like you're saying he should be like a 7th rounder, but second rounder, like me. Yeah. Okay, I'm not mad that Miles Murphy went in the first. I just, with how the board was, if Nolan Smith wasn't there, then I would have been like, okay, fine, like that. But I don't know how Nolan Smith fell. I don't know how JSN fell. Like there are guys to where I'm like, I don't know how these guys fell. And I think that some teams are going to be kicking themselves. I don't know how Will Levis fell. Like teams are going to kick themselves like, oh man, we shouldn't have passed on that dude. Yeah, we should have taken him. And that happens every year. But I feel like this year more is where we're going to get that. But yeah, C+ for the Bengals. I'm a D. Did I say D or D+? I think I said D+. You said D+. I said a C.
Yeah. Okay. C and D+. Let's move on. The next team, the Baltimore Ravens. JD, the rest of these 3 teams, I know you love them. You're going to have no bias against any of these next 3 teams.
I probably won't.
You have the Ravens in the first, taking Zay Flowers, wide receiver. In the third, Trenton Simpson, linebacker. In the fourth, Tavius Robinson, edge rusher. In the fifth, Kui Blue Kelly, cornerback. In the sixth, they get Maleshala Almave? Laulu? I'm trying, man. Offensive tackle. And then the 7th round, they get Andrew Voorhees. Put the Jason Voorhees mask on him. The guard from USC. JD, let me know. What do you think of the Ravens draft?
I'm starting off and saying I'm giving them an A-.
Okay.
I think they killed it. Getting Zay Flowers in the first, he adds a different dynamic to wide receiver room that you need, especially with OBJ now. He's just a burner. He's a burner with good hands. And then Trenton Simpson, he was, again, once thought of as the best linebacker in the class. And you didn't pick, it came out today that you didn't pick up the 5th-year option on Patrick Queen. So after this year, Trenton Simpson can be your number 1 starter. Or I guess next to Roquan. But still, great pickup there. Just adds for this season specifically, adds more depth. It'll give him time to grow. Then I believe it's Caillou, Blue Kelly. Again, good corner out of Stanford. You needed depth in that position because that position has been banged up for the last 2 years. So getting a pretty solid corner in the fifth is a good move there. And then Andrew Voorhees. I had a fourth round grade on him.
And they get him in the
So
seventh.
the seventh. So I mean, I guess, he's going to need some developing, but that offensive line also dealt with a lot of injuries as well.
Mm-hmm.
So getting Voorhees as a depth guy and hopefully he can become a starter for you is, I think, a great business move there.
Now, I'm debating. And honestly, JD, all right, here's how we're going to do it. I have a coin here, D&D coin. The Kraken head is going to be an A. The one, actually, Kraken head is an A. The one is a B. I'm literally flipping for this because to me, I'm sitting there. I'm going to get in why I'm flipping, but let's flip to see what my grade is. Kraken head, it's an A. This is one where if you look at, now yet again, if you look at needs, wide receiver to me was an interesting one. There's the rumors, the AB rumors are out there.
I don't think those are
They're
rumors, man.
put out there by AB. So how much, let's put that into thought process. A crazy man is saying that he's going to the Ravens because I legit think Antonio Brown is crazy and needs some help. That's just my normal guy opinion. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. Take that as you will. I think that AB is not the one we should be taking serious advice from on anything. Cornerback and edge were their big ones. However, you look at it, they go with wide receiver, which is a top 3 need for them. And Zay Flowers, I love. I feel like with the wide receivers they have because they signed Odell, Zay Flowers being a slot guy is perfect for them and can fit in and just be a great route runner and a great weapon for them. Then Trenton Simpson. This is a guy, JD, that depending on which mock you looked of mine, was at once a first round talent because of before free agency, he was in the first round and he was the guy that until Adam Thielen left, that I was like, this is who the Vikings should zero in on. I love Trenton Simpson out of Clemson. And to get him in the third is a criminal steal, JD. Should have gone in the second round. Could have even gone, well, probably wouldn't have gone in the first, but could have gone in the first. Should have went in the second round. You get him all the way in the third round. Because of that, the only reason why I flipped the coin was if you look at their draft, it's they hit needs, but nothing jumps off the page. There's the 2 star power. One's a need, one's just BPA. So that's why I'm like, should I give them a B? I'm glad the coin fell on A because this is really they hit needs everywhere, but really those first 2 picks are going to drive this class home. Zay Flowers is going to be amazing for the Ravens. Trenton Simpson is going to be amazing. Now that you bring up the Patrick Queen news that he's going to be gone because they didn't pick up the option. Well, that's just even better of how this is. So I'm going to give the Ravens an A as well. Then we move on to the third place team in the North, the Steelers. They take in the first round Broderick Jones, offensive tackle. In the second, Joey Porter Jr., cornerback. Also, they took Keanu Brenton, defensive tackle, in the second. Then they get Darnell Washington in the third. They get Nick Herbig in the fourth, linebacker for Nick Herbig. Then in the seventh, they get Corey Trice Jr., cornerback, and Spencer Anderson, guard. Spencer Addison from Maryland. JD, you're on the clock first. What grade are you giving the Steelers?
That's kind of tough for me, man. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give them a B minus. Now they took Broderick Jones, who I like more than Paris Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like the fact that they traded up for him. And then Joey Porter Jr. getting him with the first pick in the second round is a good deal. I thought he would be a first rounder, and they badly needed corner help, so I really like getting him in the second round there.
Mm-hmm.
Keanu Benton is a fantastic pick. I actually love that for him. I think he'll fit in right away there.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he has that D line is already pretty good. So just being like with TJ Watt and um Larry Ogunjobi,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be able to take the pressure off him right away and just let him feast.
Yeah.
So I actually really like for them. And then getting Darnell Washington, who is a freak. He's an offensive lineman who can run fast and catch.
Yeah.
So yes, he has the injury concern now with the I think he tore his ACL or his Achilles in the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good pick. And then I really like the Corey Trice pick. Again, just adds to that cornerback room that desperately needed help. So yeah, for that reason, I'm giving them, what did I say, B minus? Yeah.
I'm gonna go a little bit higher than you. Ring that bell. Philadelphia, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you're all happy because the entire state of Pennsylvania, JD, gets A pluses from me. The Eagles got an A plus, the Steelers are getting an A plus, and here's why. I know that Pittsburgh's gonna be like, why are you ringing the bell? We're Pittsburgh, not Philadelphia. It's a Pennsylvania thing in my mind. But like, I look at it, their first three picks, hit needs of theirs. Broderick Jones, awesome pick. Getting Joey Porter Jr. in the second, JD. The legacy part alone and how much I wanted him to be a Steeler just because his daddy played there. Now he gets to play there. It brings a tear, like Ric Flair. It brings a tear to my eye seeing him now play for the Steelers. You get a steal of a pick there. Then in the second round, you're not done, JD. You're getting Keanu Brenton, which I absolutely love that pick too. Then you're thinking, all right. There's no way the Steelers could knock away four of their first four picks, and then they get Darnell Washington in the third. You're like, what? Like, that wasn't even need, but he fell to us. You're getting a second. I know that people, there's injury concerns. You're getting a second round guy in the third. Then you get Nick Herbig, which I absolutely love him. Value pick later on. I feel like each of their top five picks, they nailed all of them. They nailed all of their first five picks. Because of that alone, it's an A plus to me. This was a solid draft all the way through. Pittsburgh Steel fans, you should be so happy. Hammer down right now, because Pittsburgh is going to be the town that these guys want to be in. A plus for this team. Then JD, to wrap everything up, who's the last team in this division, JD?
The Cleveland.
the Cleveland, not even the Browns. The Cleveland.
I call them something that's not appropriate.
Yeah. JD's biting that tongue. They didn't have a first or a second round pick because, they traded for guys. Obviously, that didn't pan out.
A guy
that didn't pan out. But here's what they did get. In the third round, they got Cedric Tillman, wide receiver. They also got Sika Ika, defensive tackle. In the fourth, they got Jawan Jones, offensive tackle, and Isaiah McGuire, defensive end. In the fifth, they get Dorian Thompson-Robinson, quarterback, and Cameron Mitchell, cornerback. And then in the sixth, they get Luke Whippler, the center from Ohio State. JD, what are you giving the Browns?
I'm giving them a C. I mean, for not having a first round pick, I think they did pretty well for themselves. Like, Cedric Tillman will come in, and I think he'll be instantly a starter for them because they're or I think he'll compete for a starter position. And then I really like the Saki Ika pick. They needed depth on that D line, and I think he has potential to be. I think he has Pro Bowl potential. I think he's going to be a great player for them. I absolutely love DeJuan Jones in the fourth. I like I just mentioned at the top of this, I want the Bengals to get him. I think he's gonna have to develop a little bit, but he's 6'8", almost 400 pounds.
Yeah.
He's a freight train. So I think that's a great pick. I'm a little confused with the Dorian Thompson-Robinson pick because you drafted him in the 5th round and he's just going to be your backup. And like
it's kind of like they might not have faith in the guy they traded for.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, do they know something that we don't? Is he going to be missing time? I mean,
he could. You never know with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then Cameron Mitchell, I like that pick from Northwestern. I think he's just a solid depth piece. So I think they did fine but like maybe the grade would have been bumped up if they had a 1st or 2nd round pick. But I mean, I liked what they did in the middle of their draft. So
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, the thing that I'm looking at is I liked some of the guys they got. I liked the Tillman pick. They needed a wide receiver. At where they got him, it was value. DeJuan Jones, I had him higher than a 4th round. I had him in my top 3. Dorian Thompson-Robinson wasn't looked at a whole lot in the draft process. Obviously, the top 5 were the main quarterbacks that were looked at by everyone. But DTR playing under JD, because you said his name earlier, who was DTR's coach in college? You said his name earlier, Chip Kelly. Yeah, Chip Kelly. Yeah. Chip Kelly is at
I don't know if you're trying to. I don't know if you're trying to trick me.
Chip Kelly is really at UCLA. So like there were some games this year that I got to watch DTR play. I like him. Now, do I think he's gonna like? Really, you don't know. That's just like hey, he develops. Let's see what happens with Deshaun Watson, because obviously with his whole situation, there's question marks around that. But like, I mean, I look at it, I got to give it a C- because it looks like a good draft, not a great draft, not an amazing draft. Just looks good. Looks good. There's nothing that's like screams out to me like major reach. There isn't anything that like screams out to me like, oh my God, I love this guy. It's an okay draft. It's okay. It's okay to be C-. Like, that's not bad. You did okay. You didn't do great, but you did okay if you were the bronze. That brings us to the AFC South, JD. And the first team we get to look at is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had a plethora of picks. In the first, they get Anton Harrison, offensive tackle. In the second, they get Brenton Strange, tight end. In the third, they get Tank Bigsby, running back. In the fourth, they get Ventrell Miller, linebacker, and Tyler Lacey, defensive end. In the fifth, they get Asir Abdullah, linebacker, Antonio Johnson, safety. In the sixth, they get Parker Washington, wide receiver. They get Christian Braswell, cornerback. They get Eric Hallett, defensive back. And in the seventh, they get Cooper Hodges, offensive tackle, Raymond Vohasek, defensive tackle, and Derek Parrish, edge rusher. JD, for these, I'll go first. And like, I look at it, and this is a team. I just want to look up their needs really quick. The top three for them were corner, safety, tight end. And like, I look at this and I'm going to give them a solid B. Reason why is they got good value in places. I like the value of Anton Harrison where they got him. I mean, would I have taken him in the first? No. But like, when you're in that 27 spot, you can reach on a fringe second round guy because you're pretty much close to the second round anyways. I liked Brenton Strange in the second round. Tank Bigsby is a guy that I think can do well behind Travis Etienne. And then just other guys, like I like Antonio Johnson, getting him in the fifth. I liked Parker Washington. Like, there weren't a lot of guys that jumped off the page, but the guys that did like highlight themselves, I think it was just solid picks. Harrison, Strange, Bigsby, Ventrell Miller, I'm sure you're going to talk about being the Florida pick. And then Antonio Johnson was one that I really liked. So like, if I'm looking at the Jaguars, I'm giving them a solid B. It was just a solid draft all the way around.
Yeah, I'm not as high on it as you are. I'm giving them
Okay.
a D plus.
That's a
Yeah.
huge disparity. Like,
Yeah.
why?
I think Antoine Harrison was a massive reach. Like I saw him going in the
Okay.
late second, early third.
Okay.
Brenton Strange, I didn't mind that pick, but I didn't think he was. I just think they reached for a lot of guys. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
think Brenton Strange was a second round pick. Now you did need a backup tight end, so
Mm-hmm.
you did nail that there. Tank Bigsby, I like him as a change of pace guy. But behind ETN,
Mm-hmm.
Ventrell Miller, as much as I love him, I think that's a massive reach. I thought you could have got him in the sixth, maybe seventh
Okay.
round. Um, but again, he's a good leader. I think he'll help that Jacksonville culture, which maybe is why they took him so early, is because he's a massive culture guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Antonio Johnson, that's a pick that I think they actually got good value on because I thought he would have gone earlier than the fifth round.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that there. And then basically the rest of their draft for me is just it's okay. Like they didn't reach for anybody. It just
You're like,
they
it's
didn't
all
do
right.
anything crazy. So like I just think in a situation where the Jaguars should be the favorites to win the South,
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have done more. Like you
Okay.
said for my Bengals, I think for a team that's trying to compete now, I think that they could have maybe with all these picks they could have traded up for a better prospect in
I'm
certain
gonna
positions.
I'm gonna throw this out there, and I think this is also important, and this also plays into it. Not all playoff teams are created equal. The
No.
Bengals are competing for Super Bowls, and they also have two teams in that division, the Ravens and the Steelers, that are going to be right on your toes. The rest of the AFC South, as we will see, all will have rookie quarterbacks. I think the Jaguars have, like, the reason the Jaguars maybe could have, because I agree with you. Some of these guys were like Anton Harrison, for example. In my last mock, my 3-round mock, I had him at 32, 33, which basically first pick of the second round is where I had him. So, like, for me, not a massive reach, but I can understand where some has that. And I can understand where you're like, hey, you reached on some guys later on. But a team like the Jaguars who know, hey, the rest of this division is not up to snuff with us. There's a good chance that we could win this division again just with the same team we have. I think that allows a team to maybe take more risks on, like, a little bit of reaches compared to like a Bengals team that is miles ahead of Jacksonville and as two teams behind them that could have easily kept you from being the division winner. Like, it was only 3 games between, I mean, let's be honest, it was only 2 games between Jacksonville and Tennessee. So maybe I'm wrong here, but like I look at it and I go, Jacksonville, I think, is a team that knows where they're at. And yet again, we're going to have to see how these players pan out too. But like, this is something where I see it's like Jacksonville is going to have the leg up in the division because they're the only team that doesn't have a rookie quarterback in their division.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think they are the clear favorite,
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, I just would like to see them do more. Maybe trade up. They had a bunch of picks.
Well, they traded down with the Bills. They could have.
Yeah.
What I would have really loved them to do is just do what the Bills did. Take Dalton Kincaid and don't even trade with the Bills. Like, that to me would have been the, like, I like Brenton Strange, but Dalton Kincaid there, and then maybe, like, yet again, that changes everything, but like, I was confused, I remember, in that first round when we were reacting to it of like, wait, why are you trading here? Dalton Kincaid is there. Wait, why are you trading that? You need, guys, remember, you need a tight end, right? Did we forget about that? Do you need a tight end? And then they just let the Bills have him.
Before we get killed, because I just remember this as well, and it still doesn't change too much.
Go ahead.
Like I think they knew that their tackle Cam Robinson. I think they knew that he was gonna get suspended, or he was suspended. I think at the time.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they knew that they were going to go Antoine Harrison,
Could be.
and that's why they're okay with the reach there.
Could
But
be.
I thought maybe just point that out just so people know that we're aware.
It's a good point. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we're not in the war room, and B, everyone's going to have their own opinion on what teams should and shouldn't have done. Moving on, though, the Tennessee Titans are the next team. And JD, I wonder what their grade is going to be from me. In the first round, they get Peter Soronsky, the offensive lineman. Then in the second round, they get the best quarterback in the 2023 class, Will Levis. Can't stress that enough. Then they get in the third round, Tajay Spears, running back. In the fifth, they get Josh Weil, the tight end from Cincinnati. In the sixth round, they get Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle. And in the seventh round, they get Colton Dowell, wide receiver. I know they traded up for Will Levis, too. That wasn't their pick that they had. But like, I look at Tennessee, they needed a quarterback. Check. You get the best one in the class. Then you look after that, like, this is Peter Soronsky, they needed offensive line help. Check. Like, either tackle, interior line. He's a guy that said, I believe I can play tackle, but I'll play wherever you need. I'll play all 5 positions if you need me to. I'll play guard on the left, guard on the right. I'll play center. I'll play tackle left, tackle right. Wherever you put me, I'm going to go ahead and play. That's why I felt like Soronsky was one of the most versatile offensive linemen in this draft, because you can basically say, hey, if this kid's willing to play anywhere that we want him to play, that's what I want. I don't want the guy that's like, hey, like, I don't want an offensive tackle that thinks like Lamar Jackson. It's okay for Lamar Jackson to think, no, I'm a quarterback, not a running back, but I don't want my tackle going, no, I'm a left tackle. It's like, no. You're wherever I put you. That's what you are. So, like, I look at that, and I'll be honest, that one pick from here might judge this one, but JD, I got to do it. They get an A+ for me. They got the best quarterback in the draft in the second round. How could you not give that an A+? How could you not? Titans, you get an A+. That's what it is. Get an A+.
For somebody like myself who's been trashing the Titans for around 3 years now, I got to give them props for this draft. I think they did a really good job. Peter Soronsky is going to be an instant starter for them. He fits a need. Like you said, he can play whatever position on that line they need him to do. So that's good. Then Will Levis, like I said, not a Will Levis guy, but getting him in the second round, good value. I like him. I like him more than Malik Willis. Now Tajay Spears, again, one of the prospects I really like. I think getting him in the third round is good value. Who knows the Derrick Henry situation? If they end up moving on from him, well, Tajay, I believe, can start right away and make an impact right away. Josh Wiley, the tight end from Cincinnati, he's pretty raw, but I like his fundamentals. I think he can be a future starter. I don't know if he'll make an instant impact, but I think he can be a starter down the road. And then Jalen Duncan, again, just more offensive line depth. So for that, I'm giving them a B+.
Yeah, for me, I mean, like I said, A+. You get Will Levis, you get the best quarterback. It would be like, I don't know, it'd be like if the Bengals got Joey B in the second round. That is what they got here, and you got to give it an A+. It's like
I don't know, man.
I don't know. It would be like if you got Andrew Luck in the second round. Like, this is what I'm talking about, people. It's the best quarterback in the draft, and you're getting him in the second round. Then let's go to the team that should have drafted Will Levis, the Indianapolis Colts. They take AR in the first. In the second, they go with Julius Brents, cornerback. In the third, they go Josh Downs, wide receiver. In the fourth, they go Blake Freeman, offensive tackle. They also go with Adetomiwa Adabawore, defensive tackle, Northeastern. Oh no, this is the one we looked up.
Yeah, this is
Oh, I have it. No. I have this in my notes. I have it here. I'm going to redeem myself because I have it. I have it here. Just give me a second. Eddie Tamiwa, Eddie Bare. That's it.
Eddie Bare.
Eddie Tamiwa, Eddie Bare. I saw this and I was like, wait a second. Yeah, I had those in my notes. I actually got to redeem myself. In the 5th, they get Darius Rush, cornerback. They get Daniel Scott, safety. They also get Will Mallory, tight end. They also get Evan Hall, running back. In the 6th, they get Titus Leo, edge rusher. And in the 7th, Jalen Jones, cornerback. Jake Witt, offensive tackle. JD, I look at this and I'm just going to say, I'll say B+. This is a solid draft. Anthony Richardson, they get one of the top guys. Like, really, they weren't going to screw up with a quarterback there. I feel like any of the top 5 quarterbacks to them would have been fine. They needed corner. They got Julius Brents. Josh Downs in the 3rd, great value. He's a 2nd-round guy in the 3rd for me. Blake Freeland, offensive tackle. And then really the best pick for me was the edge rusher out of Northwestern. You get a 2nd-round guy in the 4th. So, like, you're getting value there. Plus, let's be honest, each of their first 5 picks hit a need that this team needed. They just went need, and they hit on each one. I'm going to give it a B+. It's none of these guys, like, and the only reason maybe I'm not giving it an A is AR. We're going to have to wait and see how he develops. He was the one out of these quarterbacks that I was the furthest on in the top 4, was it? Right? Top 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one that was lowest on mine. So, like, for me, I just look at it and I go, you know what? It's a B+. Maybe some people say A-, and I'll give you that. I'll give you that if you want to give it that. But for me, it's a B+. It's just a solid draft. Really nice players.
Yeah, see, I absolutely love this class. I'm giving it an A. Getting AR, this was a pick I was very confident on that they would go. Now, as I said, for AR himself, I don't know how I like the fit, but for the Colts, I like it for them. Getting Julius Brents, I love that. Like you said, they needed cornerback, and he was one. I think he was the best corner on the board when they selected him. So I like that. Josh Downs, very solid pick. Now I think I can't remember if he went before Hyatt, but
I could look that up.
Yeah, but if he didn't go before Hyatt, then I think he was probably the next best on the board. So I like that. Blake Freeland, I thought was going to be a late 2nd to early 3rd round talent. So getting him in the 4th, good value. And then what really pushes this class over the top for me is Adibore. I thought I could see him as a back end of the 1st round talent, and getting him in the 4th is really good. Teams are just concerned about his size, but I think he has unreal potential. He's going to help that defense. And then another pick that I just really liked.
Before that pick, I just want to say, I looked it up for you. The wide receivers in that 3rd round were all in like the same area. You had Nathaniel Dell or Tank Dell from Houston. He was at the 6th pick in the 3rd round. Jalen Hyatt was 10th in the 3rd round. Cedric Tillman was 11 in the 3rd round. And then Josh Downs was 16 in the 3rd round. So they were all right there. 10 picks? 4 guys within 10 picks? Go on with what you were saying.
Yeah. So then I really love the Jalen Jones pick in the 7th round from Texas A&M. Whenever I watched Texas A&M, he always stood out for me. Like just watching their games. I think he was their best corner this year, and I definitely thought he would go before the 7th round. So getting him as a 7th round pick is really good. So I just think they got fantastic value for most of their picks, and they didn't really reach on anybody. So for that, I'm giving them an A.
All right. Then we move on to the last team of the South, the Houston Texans. I feel like everyone knows what both of our grades are going to be. That's the English I'm trying to get out of my mouth. As they got in the first round, CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. Then in the second round, they get Juice Scruggs, the center from Penn State. In the third, they get Tank Dell, like I said, wide receiver. In the fourth, they get Dylan Horton, edge rusher. In the fifth, they go Henry we went over this.
Toa.
Toa, not 2020. Toa. Because after you say it and I hear it, I'm like, oh, I've heard that on CBS.
Yeah.
Then you got Jarrett Patterson, center. Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver. Brandon Hill, safety. JD, there are picks here that I like. I like Tank Dell. Even though I love the Quentin Johnson staying home more than Tank Dell, it still fits. They need a wide receiver. They get one in the fourth. JD, they get an A+ for one reason. What is that reason?
They're playing Madden in real life.
They got CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. How did they do? We're pretty much almost a week since. Mm-hmm. And I still don't know how it happened. I still don't know how they were able to pull it off. A+ just for getting Stroud and Will Anderson.
I mean, honestly, I think they get an A+ as well, but they actually had a pretty solid rest of their draft. There was a little bit of underwhelming picks in there, but besides Will Anderson and CJ Stroud, getting Tank Dell is a good pick. They needed wide receiver help. Dylan Horton is somebody who I don't know how high his potential actually is, but he has a pretty high floor, so at worst he's going to be just a rotational guy. I absolutely love Henry Toa. I loved him when he was at Tennessee, and then when he transferred to Alabama, I think he only got better. Then Jarrett Patterson. Now, I thought he was going to be the best center in this class. So getting him in the 6th round, it is fantastic. I love it. I think he'll challenge for a starting position. He may not win that battle, but he's gonna put up a good fight, and then by next year, I think he's gonna be your starting center. And then Xavier Hutchinson is just a solid receiver out of Iowa State. So there were some picks didn't absolutely love the Juice Scruggs pick, but I mean, they made up with it with the Jarrett Patterson, and then the Brandon Hill pick is whatever. I mean, you're probably looking at him for special teams.
Yeah, I mean, I love what Houston was able to as a Houston Texan fan, you're probably sitting there going it's exactly like the Tom Grassi reaction where he was the Texan fan. It's oh wait, are we actually we're actually good at drafting now? We're good at this? It's this is not, we don't expect the Texans to do these things. No. And I'll be honest, I think a little bit has to do with DeMeco Ryan. I think DeMeco Ryan knows what he's doing. I know he's just the head coach, but he's got some influence, and I can't wait to see what he does with that team this year. JD, we got 4 teams left in the AFC. Number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. First round, they go with Felix Anudike Ozuma, edge rusher. Second round, they go with Rashee Rice, wide receiver. Third round, they go Wana Morris, offensive tackle. Fourth round, they go with Chamari Connor, cornerback. Fifth round, they go with BJ Thompson, edge rusher. Sixth round, they go with Keandre Coburn, the defensive tackle. And then the 7th, they go Nick Jones, cornerback. You're taking all these first, my man. What's your grade for the Chiefs?
So it's like I said about the 49ers yesterday. I mean, if you look at this just on paper without any context, I think you'd be underwhelmed by this draft. But really what this offseason and specifically this draft is about for the Chiefs was to just add depth. And I think they did that. I'm not going to give them a crazy grade. I'm going to give them a C. But I think they did exactly what they intended to do. Anudike Uzama is somebody who is very raw, but he has the potential to be a potential starter. So I like that in the first round. I don't think they reached for him. I think that's fair value for him. Rashee Rice, it just adds to the wide receiver room because they lost Juju. So I like that. And then yeah, then they filled out their other needs. They had a need for offensive tackle depth. So getting Morris out of Oklahoma in the third round, I like it. I mean, he's just a camp. He
Mm-hmm.
has a chance to fight for a spot in camp.
Yeah.
And then you go for a linebacker in the fifth, which I think their linebackers some of their weakest position group.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. And then they got I like the Coburn, the D tackle out of Texas. I think he has a chance to again learn the like cuz he's pretty raw. I want to say he hasn't played football for too long. So I think learning in Kansas City will
I
I
mean,
mean, well,
gets
that's a
to
pretty
learn in
good
Kansas City too.
like he's good. Like that's a pretty good team to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. So they did what they needed to do. So I give them a C.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not going to reiterate everything you just said because a lot of them I have the same points. I'm going to say C plus though because of your reasoning. Like they did, like even the first three picks, they needed edge rushing, they needed wide receiver, they needed tackle. Like they double up on edge rushing too, to where it's like, yet again, none of the players jump off the page except for maybe Felix. But for me, they hit needs, and that's why I'm going C plus over a C. It was a solid draft for them. But really, this is a team that they didn't really need to blow it out of the water. Like, I thought they were going to trade up for an edge rusher. Let's be honest, the way the draft ran down, they didn't need to. This probably would have been a B plus if Nolan Smith would have fell to them. Like, then that would have been like, whoa, like that's an amazing draft. But like, yeah, it's a C plus. It's just a good draft, and KC fans, you should be happy with it. Then we got the LA Chargers. In the first round, they get Quentin Johnson, wide receiver. In the second, they get Tuli Tuipulotu, edge rusher. In the third, they get Dylan Henley, linebacker. Fourth round, they get Darius Davis, wide receiver. Fifth round, they get Jordan McFadden, guard. Sixth round, they get Scott Matlock, defensive tackle. And in the seventh, they get Max Duggan, TCU quarterback. What, JD? What's your grade?
I'm gonna give
they
them.
They didn't really need Max Duggan.
Yeah.
They just took him because did they take him just because they took Quentin Johnson?
No,
because they were teammates.
That was a pick I actually liked because I think it's smart. Now, I guess I'll just start with that. Max Duggan, I think they're gonna try and do what the Patriots did with Garoppolo. They know they have their starting quarterback, so I think they're gonna try and develop this guy up, make him.
I thought you were gonna go the Taysom Hill route. I'm like, what? They're gonna make him a tight end quarterback, pass catching running back. What?
No. I think they're gonna just build him up and make it, and then use him as a
trade him.
Yeah, which is smart because I know some people. Like when TCU was on their run, they saw Duggan as a potential like third rounder, So I think that's what their goal is. So I actually really like that as a seventh rounder. And in worst case, you can't do that. And he's just a backup. I mean, it's not bad. Quentin Johnson, like I said, he was my second wide receiver. And getting him at 22 is I mean, it's good value. Like he was second receiver off the board, and he's what the Chargers need. Herbert can just throw the ball deep, and if Johnston can fix his catch issues, then I mean it's going to be a home run pick because he will be the best wide receiver from this class. Now Tuipulotu. Now he's exactly what their defense needed. They needed more pass rush, and that's what they're getting with this pick. I mean, and getting him the second round is good value because Dane Brugler of The Athletic was saying how he wouldn't be surprised before the draft, he said how he wouldn't be surprised if he saw Thule end up being like at the back end of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good pick there. And then, yeah, then I'm looking at this now. I didn't realize they got another TCU wide receiver, Darius Davis.
Yeah. So they got the quarterback and two of the wide receivers.
Yeah.
So did you say what grade you've given them?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
I'm gonna give them a C plus.
Okay. I'm on the same page. When I say same page, C plus, and here's the reason why. I like Quentin Johnson. He was on my board, JSN was number 1, but on my biasy board, Quentin Johnson was my number 1. He was my favorite wide receiver from this class. I absolutely loved watching him at TCU this year. The Thule pick. I like the pick, but to me, I look at their second round pick and their third round pick, either the Thule pick or the Henley pick. And I go, in my mind, why this is not a higher grade than a C plus. One of those should have been tight end. We were talking all before the draft how this was such a deep tight end class, and for a couple reasons. First off, I looked in the second round. They could have taken Shoemaker, who went later. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, okay, like edge was a top 5 need. I don't want to change that. But then I look to Henley and I go, you know what? Like, looking where it is, like, because it was the third round, I almost feel like they should have went Darnell Washington instead of Henley in the third. That's just me.
They might have just not been comfortable with his injury.
Now, I get that. That's why, like, C plus, it's a good draft, but like, that's the one thing. If it was me, I wouldn't have been scared of that, JD. I would have said, I know this talent. We already got him Quentin Johnson. Let's get him Darnell Washington, because now they're in it. Like, the Chargers are in the same position that the Bengals are in with their tight end or with their tackle. Of you guys have Jonah Williams, who's going to be a free agent next year. They have Everett, who's going to be a free agent next year. So to me, I thought both of those teams should have at least taken a guy that they can say, at least we have someone, because you don't know how free agency is going to go. You don't know who's going to re-sign. You don't know who's going to go. Like, you can expect to get a guy, but then another team comes in with a better offer. So like, with me, I look at it and I go, tight end was one of the positions. And like, I can't be mad at them not going Mayer in the first, because they went with a wide receiver and they desperately needed that as well. I just look at this and I go, it's a good draft. It's a C plus draft. But that is one thing. I feel like the tight end position should have been addressed in this draft, and it wasn't for the for the Chargers. And that's what I hold against them. 2 more teams left, JD. We got the Las Vegas Raiders. They went with Tyree Wilson in the first, edge rusher. In the second, Michael Mayer, tight end. In the third, they go Byron Young, defensive tackle. They also go with Trey Tucker, wide receiver. In the fourth, they get Jacorian Bennett, cornerback. Adrian O'Connell, quarterback. They go within the fifth, Christian Smith, the second, safety. In the sixth, they go to Amari Burnley, linebacker. And then the seventh, they get Nestra Jade Silvera. What's your grade for the Raiders?
I'm giving them a B. I mean, I like the Tyree Wilson pick is a good pick. Mm-hmm. I mean, not much needs to be said on it. We talked about him enough. And Michael Mayer in the second round is great. I thought there was a chance he would fall out of the first round, but I had a first round grade on him. So, and he's gonna replace who was their tight end that just left? Darren Waller, yeah. And so he's gonna replace him right away and be a starter and be good. Mm-hmm. Byron Young, the DT from Alabama, is a good piece. They need to rebuild that D line because all they really had was Max Crosby. Mm-hmm. So taking the pressure off Crosby is going to be was the key. And then the draft, it kind of it kind of fell apart for me there. Like Trey Tucker isn't a bad pick, but I think there's a little bit of a reach in the third round, but still a decent player. And then they got Aiden O'Connell, the Purdue quarterback. So, I mean, I don't hate that. It's just another quarterback on roster who can.
Well, technically, they needed a quarterback.
Yeah. So,
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Jimmy G gets injured. O'Connell might be thrust into the starting. He might. Oh, question mark for you: is Aiden O'Connell gonna be the Brock Purdy of 2024? What?
Man, I don't know about that. So, like, I like what they did. I mean, that's why I'm giving them a B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B-, mainly because I like the guy. I like some of the guys they got. Really, to me, the one thing was earlier on, I was sitting there and I'm like, oh man, I really would have went with, like, yes, cornerback was your arguably number one need. But Tyree Wilson too, like that was in my mocks. I went away from my personal belief in the number one commandment of drafting of JD. What are the two most important positions in football?
Quarterback and pass rush.
Good. See, guys, he's learning the MVP ways. He's learning the draft gospel of MVP sports. No, I'm just kidding with you, but that's like, I went away with that just because Tyree Wilson to the Falcons fits so well. But like, there's a part of me that goes, I would have liked Christian Gonzalez there, but I can't be mad at them for not ignoring the number one commandment in the draft gospel.
Yeah.
And I just like, I like it overall. B- just because of that, just because of like the corner thing, but it was a solid draft overall. And then JD, we end it with a team that did not have a first rounder because they traded for Broncos country. Let's ride. They didn't do much riding this year though. In the second round, the Broncos got Marvin Mims Jr., wide receiver. In the third, they get Drew Sanders, arguably best linebacker in the class. Third round, they go with Riley Moss, cornerback. Sixth round, they go with J.L. Skinner, the safety. And then in the seventh, they go with Alex Forsythe, the center. JD, what are you going with? What's your grade for the Denver Broncos?
I'll go with the C+. Now, I like getting they needed more weapons, especially because there's those rumors of Judy being on the trade market. So Marvin Mims is a good pick there in the second round. Drew Sanders is a great pick in the third round. I love that pick. They needed help on that defense, and he adds to that linebacking room. And then they got then Riley Moss helps that cornerback room that they needed. Now, I'm not really sure where he slots in, if he's going to be more of a slot or if he's going to be an outside guy. But either way, I mean, they needed help on the cornerback position, so I like it. And then they get J.L. Skinner, who is a solid safety. I mean, they got him in the 6th round, so I mean, maybe he's just a special teamer to start. Yeah. And then work his way into being an actual safety. And then Alex Forsythe is just, I think, offensive line depth. So it's average, a little above average.
I'm going to go with C+ only because I wish they would have addressed the edge rusher position. Didn't really get that, but like Mims and getting Sanders in the third is a steal to me. Like, I feel like the two linebackers, Drew Sanders was number one on my board. I know we're disagreeing there. You like Jack Campbell more. Drew Sanders to me was the number one linebacker. They get him in the third. It's funny how Broncos waited, got him. Lions reached and got theirs. Like, two sides of it. Like, I like the guy. Like, Riley Moss, solid. Drew Sanders, solid. Marvin Mims, solid. I wish they would have addressed that edge rushing. But when you only have 5 picks, you don't have a lot of room to move up. You don't have a lot of, like, that's the thing. I thought that they would maybe trade a pick to get some more or trade some more picks to get some capital, especially those double third rounders. I think they did trade down, but like I thought that they would be a lot more moves to try to trade down and gather some picks in a class like this. But no, I like it overall. Last thing I want to ask you, JD, and this is just popping to the top of my head. So quarterback position, guys that were maybe, let's see, I got to look this up because I want the comparison to be perfect for this. Ooh, I forgot he was Mr. Irrelevant. All right. We're not going to say just 7th round guys because that's going to be too late. I'll ask you, do you want it to be 5, 6, and 7 or just 6 and 7?
6 and 7.
All right. Makes it an easier choice. You ready? You have to choose between one of these two guys to be the Brock Purdy this year. Tanner McKee or Max Duggan? Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert? Who's going down, JD?
Max Duggan.
Who's going? Oh, Herbert's going down? Is that what you're saying? He's going to get injured?
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, if you look at teams, I'm going to say the ones that realistically get to do what Brock Purdy did, you have Sean Clifford will have a shot because Jordan Love ain't that good. You'll have Clayton Tune out of Houston because Kyler Murray's going to get injured. He's going to take some time off in November when Call of Duty comes out. Deshaun Watson is in Cleveland, so DTR gets a chance to do it. Garoppolo usually gets injured, so Aiden O'Connell. Stenson Bennett might just be the starter if Stafford doesn't go. As I gotta bleep that, I'm trying really hard. So I'll give you this new choice: Aiden O'Connell, DTR, or Clayton Tune. Out of those three, who's the Brock Purdy?
Clayton Tune.
See, you know what? I'm gonna go with Aiden O'Connell. He's the guy. I've got to get a pencil and write in when that F-bomb happened. But JD, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, no, just this is it turned out to be a better draft than I anticipated. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's kind of interesting that there was no teams that completely bombed the draft. But at the same time, I don't think there's only a couple drafts that blew it out of the water. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
So JD, just real quick, the Bengals made a tweet that Adam Schefter tweeted. It's apparently a thread with 6 of their guys, Joey B being one of them, with their like pregame fits, and it says our application to be invited to the Met Gala with the fire emoji. Man. But that's going to do it for our entire NFL draft grades. If you checked this out, didn't check out our NFC ones, I'll put it above JD's head. Usually I'll try to remember that. Or you can click the link down below in the description. Remember, if you want to support us, help make these videos possible, go and check out the Patreon page down below in the description or become a channel member today. If you want to join the Discord, it is free. That link is down below in the description as well. I want to thank you guys for everything you do. Let us know what you guys think of anything we mentioned today down below in that comment section. Again, thank you for everything that you guys do. JD and I haven't mentioned this. I feel like this is it for a little bit. We get to take an NFL break. We'll be back
I'll
after.
Be around.
Well, you'll be around. Things will happen. But let's be honest. When it comes to the draft room, we're handing the baton off to the NBA, and probably it'll be straight NBA until the NBA. Well, NBA draft and summer league are kind of together. So
we
might
got
be
ideas
July.
Cooking.
Yeah, we got ideas. But when it comes to the draft room, it might be July until we get the 2024 class unveiled and start looking at that. Thank you guys for everything you do yet again. And as always, have a good day, everybody. As always, we'd like to thank the people who make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen. If you would like to support MVP, go ahead and click that Patreon link in the right. And if you'd like to check out our first round reactions, go ahead and click the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.